Bill Barr says the president's tweets make it impossible to do his job. Feds recommend almost 5 years for former Baltimore Mayor Cathy Pugh. And 7 2020 mayoral candidates face off in West Baltimore's Green Street Academy. Today on The Diamond K Show. Welcome back to A Radio on Fire. We are reporting for the nation, episode 398 of The Diamond K Show. Of course, my name is Diamond K. Thank you for joining me. Radio on Fire provides the best in breaking news, entertainment, and political stories that matter to you from an independent point of view. And Radio on Fire, we are reporting for the nation. So, in a very rare move, Attorney General William Barr took a public swipe at the president. He declared that the president's infamous tweets about the Justice Department, prosecutors, and open cases make it impossible for him to do his job. Who is this guy? I mean, many people have looked at, and justifiably so, looked at William Barr's moves is very questionable, to say the least, and many go as far as to call him the president's personal attorney. So I'm sure he does not care for that characterization, and for some reason, Barr made some comments during an interview with ABC News just days after his Justice Department overruled its own prosecutors. The whole thing was shady, to say the least. It was clear what was going on. And I think that Barr, it's not that he's found some, ethical epiphany. What it is that he doesn't like the obvious and the blunt nature of it. It makes it so clear what his intent is. And he would have been very fine doing these things that the president asked, but the fact that the president is publicly speaking about it definitely makes his integrity seem fragile. So, now what exactly did he do? Okay, let's think about this. The prosecutors had recommended a court filing that longtime Trump ally and confidant Roger Stone was to be sentenced to 7 to 9 years in prison. Now, they took this extraordinary step of lowering the amount of prison time that it would seek. Now, of course, when the prosecutors make these recommendations, it's not what the judge is going to necessarily do. And it just so happens that the Stone case is in front of a very outspoken judge, and we don't even know what she's going to do. So, but the prosecutor, they recommend something, and sometimes they get less. Usually they get less. But there are many instances where they get whatever they're recommending. So this very well could be something that the prosecutor recommends less, but the judge sees that it is required for him or her to institute a sentence that is even higher than what the prosecutor is asking for. This does not happen often. But the department did not offer an amended number. They just thought that it was too much, right? Barr himself, as I said, under fire for this reversal and other things. But his comments serve as a defense of his own integrity. I'm sure that he just couldn't stand the way that he's being portrayed. But he's being portrayed this way because of his own actions. These are his own actions. He is a Trump loyalist. So let's not get that confused. And he does share the president's views on expansive executive powers. He shares this. He just doesn't want to look like a complete, robot. He's like, cut me some slack here. But these remarks are not going to go unanswered. And, the fact that they were made so quickly after the decision to back away from sentencing suggests that the Attorney General is aware that the reversal has chipped away at the DOJ's, alleged historic reputation of independence. It looks crazy. It makes them look corrupt. But he stopped short of acknowledging that he did anything wrong. It's not him. It's the tweets. Now, Stephanie Grisham, who is the White House press secretary, we don't get to see her that much, but she is the press secretary. She said that the president was not bothered by the comments at all, and he has the right, just like any American citizen, to publicly offer his opinions. She added that the president has full faith and confidence in Attorney General Barr to do his job and uphold the law. So it's almost like they telegraph this, right? So they do this thing. They agree on this. They only disagree, supposedly, as to whether or not the president should be tweeting about it, right? So then he speaks out, makes him seem like he's firm and he is a law-abiding guy and defending his integrity, but they're still going to do the dirty stuff that they already said, right? In this interview, he definitely contradicted himself. This person, we're talking about Roger Stone. Roger Stone is someone who is a confidant of the president and a longtime ally and a friend. Barr said that if the president asks him or somebody from DOJ to do something that benefits them, then he wouldn't do it. But you're doing it now. You're doing it now. This is typical lawyer double talk speech, right? Barr is not operating in good faith at all. Now, he said that Trump's tweets created a perception problem for his department and that call into question its independence. You're not independent. You're not independent. You're doing this right after these tweets come. It's not, you didn't come to this conclusion yourself, but he wants people to think that. People are not dumb. People are not slow. He denies that there was any order from Trump and said that Trump's tweets did not factor into the decision. That's bull crap. That is bull crap. He didn't come up with this on his own. This is all of the things that the Department of Justice think about when they look at the Roger Stone case. Really? Roger Stone did threaten someone's life in investigations. They uncovered that and obstructed justice, among other things. But the Department of Justice, under Bill Barr, mysteriously felt the need to reach his hand on the scales. 4 attorneys, prosecutors, stepped down. Significant. This is not some ordinary thing. But Barr is joining the roster of high-level aides who have publicly criticized Trump. Big deal. But the difference between him and the others is that he still has his job. John Bolton wants to publish a book next month detailing his time at the White House, including criticism of Trump's actions. But they're trying to stop that book from coming out. Former Chief of Staff John Kelly, who largely has kept a low profile, he's been talking about stuff unfavorable with the president. I don't think any of this matters at all. Republicans are still scared and shook. Democrats are scared and shook of the president. And these comments from Attorney Barr are not going to change anything. They're still going to try to influence this Roger Stone case and other cases. Don't think that this is going to be the only case that they try to put their finger on the scale of. There are going to be other cases. Mike Flynn case. There are going to be other cases. There definitely going to be others. So we're going to continue to follow this and see how this unravels here. You listen to the Don McKay Show on Radio on Fire. Of course, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back after this with more of the show. Stay tuned.
Do you have a business, product, or event that you need to promote to men and women? If so, Radio on Fire can help you do it with one of our promo packages. Our broadcasts reach over 150,000 people per month. Sponsorship for one or all of our radio programs can include live mentions, social media posting, commercials, and more. Visit radioonfire.com/advertise to find out more about a promo package that fits your needs. Rates start as low as $50. If you want to reach men and women ages 23 to 44, log on now, radioonfire.com.
And we are back. Radio on Fire, your man Diamond K in here. Thank you for joining me. Radio on Fire, we are reporting for the nation. This next story is a Baltimore story. And it's really amazing when I look at the fall from grace of the former Baltimore Mayor Cathy Pugh. Federal prosecutors are recommending nearly 5 years in prison for Cathy Pugh. She had the infamous Healthy Holly scandal. The sentencing memorandum was filed ahead of Pugh's February 27th sentencing. Pugh, who resigned last May, reached a plea deal with federal prosecutors on charges related to sales of her Healthy Holly children's book. The recommended sentence of 57 months is the harshest allowed under federal guidelines. So, for someone who reached a plea deal, he ain't cutting her no slack. They're cutting her zero slack. The facts establish that Pugh was deceptive, dishonest, and just defrauded the citizens of Baltimore. She deliberately engaged in a broad range of criminal acts. So while we may feel sorry for her in regards to her advanced age, she's a woman, she seems meek and mild-mannered, the Maryland state senator and mayor of Baltimore City used the stature of the elected office to solicit fraudulent book sales. Fraudulent book sales. I mean, she was a petty, well, I don't want to say a petty criminal, but I mean, they're crimes that are smaller, but I mean, she could have done so much. Like I said, Maryland state senator, mayor of Baltimore City. And she saw fit to generate revenue for her publishing business, which is fine if you're going to do it right? She's on a higher level, part of which this is money that she used to influence her 2016 mayoral election campaign in violation of state laws, the election laws, that is. And longtime aide Gary Brown helped her expand her scheme, conceal it from authorities and the public, for her private gain. That looks crazy. And we're in the middle of electing, who is going to be trying to actually take the job she used to have. So this is, the timing of this is ironic. Her former aide in his own plea agreement said that they conned buyers of the Healthy Holly books by selling the books and not delivering them. They could have at least delivered the books. So you defrauded the people, you're conning the people, providing books to purchasers and later converting them to their own use in campaign events. So they're taking money for that and then not delivering them and then using them at campaign stuff, right? I mean, just crazy stuff. Government functions, and then reselling those books that had previously been purchased and donated to city schools. So is this the worst crime in history? No, it's not. But it is something that can't be tolerated. No crime by public officials, be it mayor, be it governor, be it senator, be it president, should be tolerated. And I don't want us to stop on Cathy Pugh. I want us to go all the way up to the White House, clean it all up. Catherine Pugh printed 2,100 copies, 2,110 to be exact, of the first Healthy Holly book, which is called Exercising is Fun. Then she sold the remaining 20,000 copies to the University of Maryland Medical Systems, whose board she sat on. So, that it was conflict of interest there. And this was on behalf of city schools. Then in June of 2011, her copies were delivered to her Senate office in Baltimore. 4 months later, nearly all of those books were sold to Grant Capital Management. But witnesses told investigators that those books were delivered to Associated Black Charities. At that point, Pugh had no copies of the first book left. The next day, however, she sold 1,000 copies to Care First and made subsequent smaller sales to entities including Kaiser Permanente, but never made another print run. Instead, she used 2,350 copies that belonged to city schools to fill those orders, pocketing $15,000, prosecutor said. She could have at least printed more books. She had the money. So even if you want to take the money, right, sell the books, take the money, and then print the books with the money that, they gave you from the books that they're expecting, you could have at least done it and delivered the books. However, no. She gave away copies at campaign events, government functions, schools, etc., etc. Anybody that she saw, here, take a book, right? But these books were sold, right? But then she used them as promo. She used it as promo. Witnesses told investigators that she demanded that her offices and government vehicles be stocked with copies of the books. So she wanted other people to give the books out as well. Ultimately, all of the copies of the first book that were supposed to go to the city schools were distributed in this manner. Shameful. Shameful. Federal agents found no copies of the book at the city warehouse. The city didn't get the book, right? But 1,742 copies turned up in locations associated with Pugh, many of them in custody of a moving company that took them from her Senate office. And this person is trying to clean up the streets. This person is trying to hold people accountable. This person is holding the highest office in Baltimore. Like I said, shameful. In one hand, you feel sorry for her, but on the other hand, you don't. There's so many people that have done much less. Some people have done much more and got away with it. But she has been caught for various reasons, and she is going to be made a public example of. Her career over. Politics. I don't know what happens when she gets out of jail, and she will go to jail. I don't think she's going to do the 57 months. But February 27th is going to be a very interesting day, and we're going to see what happens to former Mayor Cathy Pugh. I'm going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to talk about people that are trying to take the job that was once held by Cathy Pugh. And there was a candidate forum that took place in West Baltimore. We'll talk about that after this break. You're listening to the Diamond K Show here on Radio on Fire. I'll be back after this. Your man Diamond K back in the seat here. Thank you for joining me, and welcome back. Radio on Fire provides the best in breaking news, entertainment, sports, and political stories that matter to you from an independent point of view. To get access to exclusive content, all of our show archives, member-only merchandise, and much more, visit radioonfire.com/join. And to advertise on the show, djdiamondk@gmail.com to get more information on that. So the Green Street Academy in West Baltimore hosted a youth candidate forum for the mayoral candidates. 7 candidates participated in this. The squeegee workers, squeegee kids, this conversation comes up every town hall, every debate that I have seen in Baltimore. And of course, all of the candidates, they're so excited, they're so engaged about helping the squeegee workers, right? And it's a big topic for many reasons. But it's funny because it's a buzzword. And many of the candidates are talking smack, talking trash, lip service, not going to do any of the things that they're saying they're going to do. What really bothers me about some of the candidates who are actually in elected office now, currently, when they talk about some of these topics that come up, helping the youth, getting youth engaged, empowering youth, helping the squeegee workers, providing access to economic, education, etc. All of them say, I'm already doing this. This stuff I'm already doing, right? And but you're not being effective at it because the city is a mess. Baltimore City is a mess. But these candidates get on the stage, and I'm talking about the ones that are elected, not the ones who are, activists and doing things. But the ones that are in elected office and parading around like they are doing all of this stuff. If you were doing all this stuff and it was being successful, we wouldn't be in the mess that we're in. But they get up here and they lie to the people. They get up there and they portray themselves to be more than what they are really doing. Let's understand that Cathy Pugh, former Baltimore Mayor Cathy Pugh, she was once one of these people, sitting up here lying through her teeth while she's doing God knows what with these same books that she keeps selling. Same book, sell it, don't deliver it, sell it again, don't deliver it, like some kind of Ponzi scheme. 5 years from now, what are we going to find in the closet of these elected officials who are now trying to run for mayor? I'm sure there's going to be some stuff, but they think they so smooth. They think they so slick. Stuff's going to come out because this whole crop of politicians is corrupted. Everything just hasn't come out yet. We're gonna see about that. So I'm speculating here. But Ricky Vaughn, one of the candidates, very passionate. I like Ricky Vaughn. And as this election has proceeded, Ricky Vaughn has really stood out as one of the bright outsiders in this race.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Baltimore family. My name is Ricky Vaughn, of course, one of the candidates, businessman here in Baltimore, owner and operator of franchises and some independent restaurants. As Mr. Mayor said, I let my record speak for itself. I don't show up and advocate for youth because it's election time. I show up regardless, whether it's January, February, March, or whether it's election season or whether it's another season. I'm proud to be here tonight and proud to share the stage with some very talented individuals as well. Some of the things that I've done in Baltimore, when you talk about the squeegee kids, I was out there representing the squeegee kids, hiring the squeegee kids when they were water boys and soda boys. So that's me. I'm in the community. I'm going to stay in the community regardless of what happened on April 28th. I was there in the past. I'm there now, and I'll be there afterwards. So I appreciate it. Check my website out, rickyvaughn.com. I appreciate your support, your prayers, anything you can do to help me. Move the city forward. Let's do it together.
Candidates talked about and were asked about creating generational wealth. And how can you do that? Generational wealth is a buzzword, but it is something that is important. It is something that many people talk about. It. Wealth can come from many different forms. Real estate, assets, stock market investments. Financial education is the key. So when asked about creating generational wealth, current Mayor Jack Young said he'd never heard of generational wealth. Okay? And he He said that in Baltimore, it doesn't exist. It's ridiculous. But this is the current mayor, Jack Young.
Can you say that question again? It's about generational wealth.
Basically, I'm going to paraphrase what that question was. It's about generational wealth. What kind of program would you implement in the city to teach generational wealth, and would it be directed to the parents or the adults or the children?
It would be directed to both. We had to really have financial literacy in our schools to teach our young people how to save and how to invest their money. Now, generational wealth in black families, I've never heard of it before because we don't tend to leave anything for our children. Now, that's the truth. We don't tend to do that. But let me tell you what I've done for my family and my grandchildren. I've set up accounts for each and every one of my grandchildren. My wife is sitting right there, and she can attest to that. Money come out my check every payday for all three. Now there's going to be four of my grandkids, because that's how you do generational wealth. And my house is going to be going down to my children and to their children's children. That's how you build generational wealth. And you teach them financial literacy so they can understand that you have to put something up for a rainy day. You don't just spend it all at one time. You put it up for a rainy day.
Catalina Bird, who is a Republican, held her own.
My mother lives on land that's been in my family for 220 years. My daughter that's sitting there already owns it, and she's 7. I've already done it because I've lived it. I'm sorry that you didn't have that lived experience. But my family did, and I'm going to pass it on to yours.
And Catalina Bird she's an interesting candidate in this, as she could really do some damage. She's dangerous to these Democratic candidates because she's reaching out to Dems who may, after this primary, not see the person that they are rooting for winning. She's reaching out to them and saying, you vote for me.
Look at my plan. I love Baltimore. My friends on the stage that I know love Baltimore as well. If one of your favorite Democrats doesn't make it out, then you have the option in November, and you never have to change your party. We're going to be writing the next chapter of Baltimore's history.
You don't have to switch your party, but vote for me in the fall. I like that. She's not talking down to Democrats. She's speaking. She doesn't sound like a crazy Republican. She sounds, she's an activist, but she sounds sensible. That's dangerous to these Democrats because many Democrats portray these Republicans as crazy. They don't care about the community, don't care about the hood. And Catalina Bird does care about that. And whenever she speaks, you can tell that. And I am no conservative politically. And I don't know if she is a traditional conservative, but she's definitely a hybrid of something. So she's definitely someone to watch. She had some very interesting exchanges with Mayor Young and T.J. Smith. Catalina Bird is a firecracker. So the Green Street Academy, which is in West Baltimore, had these candidates come through. Former Baltimore Mayor Sheila Dixon was there, and she had a lot of great things to say.
Property means value. And so instead of leaving a property that your parents owned on Ruskin Avenue and you just did not want to deal with it, and then you leave it vacant, and then the city has to end up taking over, we have to begin to teach early on that property means value and that we have to invest in property. But we also have to invest in creating entrepreneurship curriculums in our school for our children as well as adults. I work with companies right now that are creating generational wealth. These companies have now turned it over to their sons and their grandkids, so it is happening here in the city, but we have to expand it and create more.
Brandon Scott, who is the president of the city council currently, he's in the job that Jack Young has held for many years. He talked about helping a guy who robbed him years ago. Very perplexing comments.
So, in fact, it's also something that we need to consider even for certain young people who are charged with violent crimes, right? For example, right now I'm helping a young man who robbed me 10 years ago, and he's not the same person that he was when he was 16. I'm not the same person that I was when I was 25 years old. We both have changed since then, right?
T.J. Smith, who many people in Baltimore have seen his face when he was speaking about police matters, was asked about whether that he can be trusted, and asked about whether he just was clout chasing or just trying to be famous. Here's what he had to say about that.
I absolutely risked it all for Baltimore. I left my job because this was important to me, and decided my investment was going to be not having a job while I went through this process, because it meant that much to me. I lost my brother to these streets. I lost my cousin to these streets, and I'm tired of it. I'm not a politician. Many of you probably have seen my face before, so I definitely ain't up here for y'all to see my face more. I'm up here because we need to think differently and stop doing things the same old way, and every 4 years having these conversations.
It's clear that these candidates love Baltimore. I don't doubt that at all. But Baltimore, you have a decision to make in April. And this election is one of the most important elections that this city has seen in a generation. Our city is in dire need of new direction and a come up. Do we want the old guard to come in? Jack Young representing the old guard. I suppose that Sheila Dixon represents the old guard. Or do we want some of these fresh new faces? T.J. Smith, Ricky Vaughn, Catalina Bird, and many others. That's the choice that Baltimore has. And whether you like the choice or you don't like the choice, we have a choice to make. It's dire that people get out and vote, especially in Baltimore. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, at The Don McKay Show, at Radio on Fire. New episodes of the program drop weekdays, 7 p.m. here on Radio on Fire, but also anywhere that you can get podcasts or video. The Don McKay Show, search it, hashtag at The Don McKay Show. Radio on Fire reporting for the nation. We are providing the best in breaking news, entertainment, and political stories that matter to you from an independent point of view. This has been your man, Don McKay. I will see you guys tomorrow.